solicit somebody saying, "Hi, I'm Donald Trump, vote for me." So you can't, as the people are coming by here, advocate. You can hold a sign within these areas.
Well, if I'm standing over here outside the walkway, can I speak to the people coming by?
No. If they choose to speak to you, yes. But you can't actively try to solicit for a vote as they're coming in to this area.
Can I say, so there are limits to what I can say to them while they're walking past?
Well, you can't electioneer. In this 10-foot, this free zone, from here to here, there's no electioneering.
So where do I get my free speech back exactly? How far out would I have to go?
I was the one who was, when I first got this job, was opposed to saying you have to take your political pins off or your t-shirts. I said, we don't have a statute that says that here, and that's unconstitutional. Well, they just passed a statute. It became effective June 14th. So people have to take their pins off, their t-shirts, their hats, when they go into this area. That's electioneering. So I think it's an unconstitutional statute to begin with, but that's the legislature, and I have to enforce the rules and laws that they...
Do you have to enforce something that's a violation of the New Hampshire Constitution, though?
If it hasn't been struck down by the court, I don't think I have any legal authority to ignore what the legislature has passed.
Well, it's refreshing to see someone saying they have restrained powers, but at the same time, should we be leaving everything to the courts?
Well, I think that's the way our system is. If the legislature passes something that's unconstitutional, it's up to somebody to bring it to the courts, and then a standing is a different issue. But bring it to the courts and have it found constitutional. As a matter of fact, right now, the whole thing of taking a photo of your ballot, I was never enforcing that here because it's not illegal to take a photo of your ballot. It's disseminating it. And they're not disseminating it in my polling place.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But now the federal district court struck down that statute, and it's being argued today at the First Circuit Court of Appeals.
So if I were to stand here as people are walking by and say the word Riazo loud enough so that someone could hear it as they were walking by, would I be in violation of the law?
I don't think so. I think if you're saying vote for Riazo, or if your activity is trying to promote a candidate or an issue that's on the ballot, if you're in this area, then yes, that would be electioneering.
And what would you do exactly if someone walked into that area with a shirt on that said Ron Paul or something?
Ron Paul's not on the ballot.
So it wouldn't matter to you. And if it said...
So like I said, Trump, Spence, or Hillary right now, they're not part of this election, so they're not electioneering for that. But
and if it's
disruptive to my polling place, I can ask them to leave.
If I had a sign that said Edelblue on my shirt, if my shirt just said Edelblue, and I walked in there, what would you do to me?
I would ask you to either cover the shirt up or to remove yourself from the polling place.
What if I took my shirt off?
You could do that.
Okay. I probably am not the one to do it, but someone should sooner or later.
You could do that.
Okay, Mr. O'Shaughnessy.
A lot of places have had, like a jacket or lend them a jacket to cover it up.
Yeah.
I want to do it today. It's too hot.
All right. I appreciate the straight answers. You take care.
Quick question.
Yes.
How's it going, by the way?
I'm still recording.
Are they welcome to have access?
Really low. What's your like 265?
I'm standing here with Anne-Marie Banfield from the Bedford Taxpayers Association, and I think you heard snippets of that conversation. You have other concerns. But what's your main concern about the restrictions around here?
Active social media and fans' relationship with Lady Gaga was caught on video accosting an ESPN photojournalist, then verbally calling for muscle, i.e. fellow Mizzou gang members who hate America and the First Amendment, to get physical with this journalist and forcibly remove him from the public sidewalk where he was photo documenting the insanity for his employer. Naturally, if any white university staff had done anything close to that against a black student, there would be campus-wide solidarity marches decrying the violence being committed against black students. But because this victim happened to be a non-black journalist, threats of physical force and verbal abuse unleashed against him by Mizzou staff is all politically correct and tolerated by Mizzou itself, a university where spines and scrotums are now banned by policy. Screaming, intolerant Mizzou media professor violates First Amendment rights of innocent photojournalists. The University of Missouri is crumbling into nothing less than a racist, totalitarian regime of loony left-wing extremists and instigators of violence against journalists and anyone who still believes in the First Amendment. Perhaps Columbia, Missouri should rename or rename itself Looneyville in honor of this new left-wing madness that has infected and infiltrated its university. When the very professor who teaches students about the media is caught in public demanding the censorship and forced removal of a photojournalist from a public sidewalk paid for by taxpayers, you know something has gone off the rails at Mizzou.
Behind those signs, that's what those signs
You
say.
need to back up, respect the students.
I am a student. And I do my job.
They have asked you to respect their space. Move
These students
back.
are walking forward. This is the
This
direction we
their
are
time.
walking.
You're pushing me.
You're pushing me.
Now talk to you when
Don't talk to me. All right, don't push me.
Yo.
I'm not pushing you.
Okay, well then we will just block you.
You need to now. You need to go.
Yep.
Students, can you tell him how
You don't have a right to take our photo. No, I do have a photo. I have the right to a photo. First name there.
I can't hear you.
Excuse me.
Listen.
If you would like to take photos, you need to please give them space. You cannot be this close to them. Please step back. What I'm saying is, you need to move back. Yes, you
Anyway, I think you get the picture. University of Missouri, black students who say they are tired of being screamed at by intolerant people. Intolerant media professor screaming at photojournalists and threatening to have him removed by force because she doesn't recognize anyone else's First Amendment rights. Fragile, coddled, inept students indoctrinated by delusional left-wing professors with no clue about reality. One day, these spineless, intellectually vacuous professors are going to have to wake up and face the monsters they've created by teaching anti-American radical leftists, I'm not sure that says PC nonsense, to the student body. And to think this is all exploding over reports that one black student felt unsafe because some drunk pricks yelled a racial slur at him from a moving vehicle. Forgive me for using that word. Wow, I remember a time when my black college students actually had backbone and would tell me stories of their own rare experiences with racial slurs, usually followed by something like, so I screamed back at them, the F word, bomb, cracka, and now I'm going to graduate with a degree and make something of myself to show how wrong they are. But not today. Today, the University of Missouri is filled with pathetic, fragile, and coddled young adults who have been propagandized by a patronizing institution of fraudulent education that has indoctrinated them into a wildly distorted worldview in which they believe the world is a welcome place full of warm and fuzzy collectivists who are going to cater to their every whim and wish. Welcome to the New World Order, kids. But you don't even know it's coming right at you, and you don't even know that you're being brainwashed to be part of the controlling beast. FYI to people of color, a few racial slurs blurted out by drunk asshats doesn't mean the university itself is a racist institution. What it really means is that drunk college students act stupid. Gee, really? Never would have guessed that. Universities like Mizzou only teach students how to play victims rather than succeed in life. As the truth about all this comes out, as we've now witnessed with Assistant Professor Melissa A. Click turning into a raging anti-freedom tyrant, it's ugly as hell and shows the total failure of our nation's universities to prepare students for anything resembling the real world. If you're a black student at Mizzou and you think you're not going to face real adversity after graduating, you're delusional. The world is a vicious, malicious, and often unfair place regardless of your skin color. Sadly, it's Assistant professors like Melissa A. Click, who are utterly failing to prepare you for the real world by coddling you in a protective bubble of artificial political correctness and sensitivity training that the rest of the world largely laughs off as a PC joke. When tolerance is caught on video at Mizzou, it looks exactly like a ranting, screaming professor threatening a photojournalist with physical violence. That's the extreme radical left on display, making Mizzou look exactly like the loony leftist indoctrination institution it has sadly become. Parents, don't let your kids attend Mizzou. They'll be turning into screaming loon bags who hate the Bill of Rights and threaten people exercising their First Amendment right to free speech. As reported by Breitbart.com. What follows here is a story by Lee Stranahan from Breitbart. On a day of chaos at the University of Missouri, where both the school's president and chancellor resigned after weeks of campus disruptions by students inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, was also a day of media censorship, following in the media hostile tradition